from
all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Yeah, all my life.
Welcome to Darren and Sterling here, ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM, 1510.com, live in studio on a very cold Tuesday afternoon. Not as cold as it was in Buffalo last night. That looked brutal. Darren, how you doing?
Doing good. This is my kind of weather.
It's cold as hell.
Good.
Your hands hurt.
Good. Keeps you off the golf course.
Keeps me off the golf course, and it makes me not want to do yard work. I am not going up in my gutters and getting leaves in this weather. My hands will crack.
You're not used to doing hard work, it seems.
No, I am not used to doing hard work. Are you kidding me?
You want the rest of us 99% to do the work for you, huh?
100%. No one likes
I
don't pay for it. I do it myself. But my point is, no one likes going up into their gutters and digging out leaves when it's cold.
As our good friend Branch just said, this is football weather, so get used to it. Get used to it. Well, look, we got a special guest coming on the show later on this afternoon at the bottom of the hour. Of course, he's a friend of the show. Those of you all who may have been hiding under a rock over the weekend, big news came to Kansas City, and that is in the form of Major League Baseball has finally done the right thing. Unfortunately, it's after his passing, but the great Buck O'Neil has been elected to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and we'll be speaking with Bob Kendrick again at the bottom of the hour to talk about the inclusion, what all it entails, what type of big party Kansas City and I know the League are going to have. I know I'm going to be there somehow, some way. So looking forward to have that conversation with him at the bottom of the hour. So certainly you talked about Buffalo and, of course, that game last night, the New England Patriots, who I had winning that game. I think you and Lebo probably had Buffalo winning, but,
sure,
I believe in Belichick. You all don't.
I didn't expect the weather to be that bad. I know we talked about it.
It was okay.
55-mile-per-hour gusts.
Well, we talked about that during the show, but here's the thing. The Patriots did, Belichick did what I expected him to do, and you all probably didn't, which was run the football and again
46-3. You did not expect 46-3, okay?
I expected Belichick to win by any means necessary. He has that whole Malcolm X syndrome. He's going to win by any means. First of all,
nobody expected 46-3.
No. Can't. No, I'm not going to say I expected that, but I expected. See, people always talk about how Belichick takes away your greatest asset or whatever, and you watching that game and started it. Watching it, we were at the radar doing this at the Saray last night, Steve and I was telling him, I said, what Belichick did to start this game, and what I was noticing is that it wasn't that he was trying to take away Buffalo's greatest strength. Buffalo took their own strength away. They took the ball out of Josh Allen's hands and was handing it to the running back most of the
The weather took it away from Josh Allen.
Hold on. Doesn't he have a strong enough arm where he can rip through? Because, hold on.
55-mile-per-hour gusts.
And he's supposed to be a strong arm quarterback.
Strong arm. I'm telling you, those guys. Did you see the punts?
Hey,
did you see the first punt looked like a wiffle ball?
We will have this conversation just a little bit because I do want to know whether or not you think a certain team, a certain coach would have been disciplined enough to do what Belichick did. That being the case, though, overall, your thought process on how the game plan for the Patriots worked out. Because look, no matter what the Patriots did and run the football, Buffalo couldn't, they didn't stop it. I mean, they ran 46-3 times. I mean, they knew they were running the football. You had six linemen, 2 tight ends, a fullback. They're going to run the football, and you still couldn't stop it.
I would say Patriots did what they were supposed to do. They won the football game. They found a way to get it done. The game plan obviously worked because they came away with a victory. But I feel like people are saying it was a domination or the Pats just completely controlled the Bills. No, the Bills, I think, shot themselves in the foot a lot. They still had 10 possessions. In an average football game, you get how many possessions? Actually 10. So it wasn't like the Patriots were all of a sudden stealing possessions away from the Bills. The Patriots had a ton of 3-and-outs. I think the game plan worked. Obviously, they won, but it also came down to a contested throw in the end zone from the Bills winning this football game. And you could always say almost every single game comes down to about a coin flip. If one play goes this way, one play goes that way, game could be completely different. You could say that. And that last play, the last couple plays to the end zone where they couldn't connect on a contested throw, sure, I get that. I don't think it was a domination. I think the Patriots knew Mac Jones wasn't going to be able to throw in this weather. That became completely true. He threw 3 times. His first throw, he was getting chewed out on the sideline. So look, the coach said, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?"
We said no throwing.
I think Mac Jones audibled it, and he got away because Jonnu Smith went up the ladder and brought that ball down. Again, give Belichick credit. That defense was fantastic. Bills did get one play go their way, that punt that hit off of the face mask that you could hardly tell. I mean, that looked like from one angle it didn't touch the Pats' punt returner. The other one, it looked like it grazed it. And that they did. That's how they scored their one touchdown. So you can say the Bills got lucky in that instance. I just don't think it was complete domination. I think the weather had everything to do with it. Unless
I don't want to say domination. I don't. No, I'm not going to say domination at all. But I'm saying Belichick's game plan worked to where the Bills never adjusted. I mean, it wasn't little until like the last couple of drives where they were, where they were blitzing all out or whatever, because they realized, oh my gosh, they're not going to throw the football. Again, for me, I just thought it was, he was just being our coach. And again, I still think no matter what, first of all, you knew what the weather was going to be early in the day. Mm-hmm. So your quarterback and receivers could have been out there working on passes and throwing the football on that side, because look, you're going to spend half the time on that side of the field regardless. And so if that's the case, you should have been out there preparing for it. Look, it wasn't just because the wind was gusty. I don't want to make it seem like it was freezing, because it wasn't like it was 40 below like it was Cincinnati.
It was cold. I'm sure it was very unpleasant being there.
Unpleasant, yes, but that's what they have to do. So, and so I like their game plan. I like that they were disciplined enough to stick with it. And while people might have been unhappy with how it looked on television, I think at the end of the day, Belichick is fine because 1, they got the win. 2, they're first in the AFC conference, and 3, they had no turnovers. I mean, I mean, it's basic fundamental football that he did. And you know what? I also thought about you last night, because he ran the football and ran it effectively and ran it down their throats.
Again,
you say again all day, but the fact
is more
the running
on
game
the
still
weather.
exists.
Yeah, okay, if this is the prototype for why the running game still exists, scoring 14 points should not be the prototype.
I will tell you this much. Yes, the weather had everything to do with the play caller. I grant you that. But you know what, though? He also put out a blueprint on, if they were to face Kansas City, exactly what they're going to do.
What, have 55 mile an hour winds?
Well, I mean, if you can get that 5.
I mean, he's not. He's God. He's not out here telling what the weather's going to be like on a given day.
Let me ask you.
Sure, Mahomes and the Chiefs would be horrible in this weather.
Let me go right into this then. If there was 55 mile an hour weather here at Arrowhead, does Andy Reid stick to the running game, or is he still going to have Patrick Mahomes try to throw the football?
Oh, he's probably still throwing the football. I'm not saying this weather would be horrible for Kansas City. They have the big offensive line now, and you would like to think they could get more push in the run game. But let's be honest here. The Chiefs already are facing light boxes and struggling the run game at times.
Well, so here's the thing. They rushed for 169 yards against the Chargers. They rushed for 200 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles. So they can run the football. They're just not disciplined enough to stick with it.
Against certain teams. Mahomes was also incredible against the Eagles. He was very good against the Chargers.
Because, you know what? Because they had a balance off, because they ran the ball.
Because the passing attack allows the running game to get open. When you're facing five dudes.
They had an effective running game that allowed the passing game open.
Sterling? No, man.
But Mahomes doesn't throw for 4.
No, do you think
Mahomes
a team
doesn't throw for 5 touchdowns if he's not running the ball effectively?
Check the Raiders. Darren, do you think teams are trying to stop Mahomes, or are teams trying to stop Clyde? Come on.
That's absurd. Sterling, they're giving you – Sterling, They're giving you the chance to throw underneath and to run the football. It's the Chiefs who are undisciplined.
No, Darren, my point is, teams are allowing Clyde. They're having 6 dudes. The Bills had 10 guys. 10. A lot of the time in the box. 10 guys in the box. It was incredible. I counted. Have you ever seen a 10 box against teams are scared of Mahomes? They're not scared of Clyde. Clyde has had 1 rush in his career. I think over 30 plus yards.
You don't want to mention Clyde. I mean, hold on. The
Chiefs it's about who they have.
The Chiefs have a stable amount of decent running backs.
Sure, they're decent.
As we have
decent
seen.
Keyword.
Okay, see now you finna make me go back and look at the stats because I'm sitting there. I mean, because do you want
me to look this up for you? And again,
I got it.
You know how this actually helps you because you love Kareem Hunt, right? Big Kareem Hunt guy.
I love Kareem Hunt.
So
love him.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire has 272 career carries. Guess what his long is?
What's his long?
31 yards. Kareem Hunt in his rookie year had 272 carries. Guess how many longs he had? Over 30 yards. 5.
Okay.
69, 58, 53, 35, 34. The issue is it's not that Clyde can't get 3-4 yards here and there, but he's not a big play running back. He struggles to get that big play. That's a big thing in the NFL. Like you saw it last night. Patriots ran how many rushes? 46, basically hoping for it to break one off, and they broke one off for 64, 68, whatever it was for the touchdown.
Yes, but they also use a stable amount of running backs too. I think they use like 3 running backs in particular.
Ramondre Stevenson, and guess what? Big body guy falls forward. Clyde really struggles to fall forward. Just to put this in perspective.
But Clyde is not a 3-down back to begin with.
Then why drop in the first round? That's a whole other question. So Clyde in 2021 this year, guess where he ranks in running backs and yards after contact?
I'm not sure he's missed like 3 or 4 games.
No. Yards. The average yard after contact per rush.
What is it?
40th. 39 other running backs are better when they get first contact. Guess where he is in broken tackles? 42nd. Clyde doesn't break tackles. He doesn't fall forward. When he gets hits, he's done. 39 other running backs have more yards after contact. So it's not necessarily a fact that the Chiefs are like, we don't want to run the football. They did with Kareem. The issue is they don't have that guy.
Well, again, Kareem was an every down back. Again, what the Patriots did, they don't have one set starter. They don't have one set. They used 3 running backs last night, Harris, Stevenson, and Bowden. Between them, they rushed for over 200 yards. Again, when we look at the Eagles game, Clyde ran for 102 yards. Darrell Williams ran for 42. Mahomes did his scramble for 26. And
it also helps when you lead the whole game and then you hand the ball off once you already have the lead. That helps a lot.
Okay,
Darren.
well, they didn't lead the whole game because they were trailing 10-7 at the end of the first quarter. I know I was there.
That's not.
No. Hold on,
they got what was it? 34 to 20?
Hold on. When you say these things, you got to be factually correct.
That is 34 to 20 is a 2-possession game. I'm not talking first quarter. You don't run the clock out in the first quarter unless you're the New England Patriots. Apparently,
first you said they led the whole game. Now you're not.
They did. They led the majority of that game.
So the majority is different from the whole game. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure.
I should say if you're leading into the fourth quarter and you're trying to run the clock out, how do you run the clock out? You're not going to throw the ball deep. Well, of course, you're going to hand the ball off. Of course, Clyde's going to get more carries. Of course, Clyde's going to get more yards.
It's funny you say that because the Chiefs ran for 186 yards against the Chargers the week before. And you know what? They were trailing most of them. But you know what? But you know how they lost the game? Because of the turnovers. But again, the Chiefs. So let's not say that the Chiefs cannot run the football. They're just
2 games out of what haven't they played?
Oh, let's see.
13 now.
No, Sterling. Let's see. Because now you want me to go
2 out of 13.
They've played more games than just 13. They played more than the 12 games that they've played, and they've rushed for more than that as well. So
you're gonna have to give me efficient numbers. Because
I'm saying because the Chiefs, they can run the ball. They don't
have the guy. I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is that guy. He's fine. He's a good pass catching back. They don't use him on that route. In fact, they're using Darrell Williams basically as a wide receiver too at this point. They don't have that big body power back that I think fits in better in this offensive line and scheme. That's the main issue. They have
a rotation. I mean,
but
look at Dallas. Look at Dallas. Dallas got the
Gore looked the best running back of all 3. Derek Gore in his one game looked to have the most explosion out of all 3 guys so far.
Man, I got nothing to that. I got no argument to that one. All I'm saying is that unless you're Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, maybe Austin Eckler, like your guy,
Sure, yeah.
Alvin Kamara. I'm saying running, teams have held. I thought that Ezekiel was an every down back. He should have been, but he's out of shape. But now you got the Thunder line with he and Tony Pollard.
Sure.
I'm saying the Chiefs have 3 effective running backs if you use them if you use them in rotation enough to where you can kind of keep the defense on. Because let's just say, for the sake of argument, you like Clyde when he's catching passes within the flats or whatever. But Darren Williams and a few others have shown that, like you said, Darren McKinnon, they can move the ball forward. They can go in between. Well, I'm saying the Chiefs have different style of running backs where the play calling should be able to dictate. And granted, you don't want to make it too obvious sometimes, but your play calling can dictate to where you don't have to always, put Patrick where he's always passing the football. Now, I don't know how we got way off on it, because I know we were talking about the Patriots and the game last night with their running performance. But again, my only thing is that if the Chiefs would have played in Buffalo last night, I don't think, no matter how successful they would have been trying to run the football, and they probably would have been effective running the football to begin with, that they would have stuck to that because it's not in Andy's DNA, and it's not something that looks good. Again, Chiefs fans, what we should be worried about is whether or not they won or lost the game. Whether win or lose the game versus how many fantasy points or if Patrick Mahomes hit my parlay or not. Because he hasn't done that in the last.
He hasn't done it in a minute.
He hasn't done it in a minute. So again, my biggest concern, if anything, based coming off of last night's game, is that I watched that game from a different perspective from what you did. I looked at it as, okay, Belichick has shown, and he's shown in the past, but Belichick has shown that no matter what the situation is, going into the game or while the game is going on, if this is working for me and the other team is not going to stop it, why am I going to switch? Why am I going to put my rookie quarterback, even at that, in a situation where he can drop back within this 55-mile gust an hour wind or whatever, throw a football that might get intercepted and take it back? Well,
sure.
Hell, if I can hand the ball off to any one of these 3 running backs that's going to give me positive yards, why would I ever stop doing that? Especially if the other team shows that they can't stop it. I'm going to do that all night long to get out of here with the win.
I think they showed, at least at times, the Bills stopped it. They had multiple 3-and-outs, and again, the Bills still had 10 possessions. But I do agree with you. At some point, we have to give Belichick and the Patriots organization the benefit of the doubt when it comes to these outlier games. The games where, again, the Bills had a chance to easily win this game. They drove down, and Josh Allen could not find the end zone. They could not make a contested catch the entire game. The Bills wide receivers, I don't know if it was because their hands were frozen. I don't understand why, but the Bills had a lot of big drops in this game.
And here's one thing I want to remind you of. The Chiefs have shown that they can be disciplined enough to just run the football. I know COVID last year, they did that against Buffalo.
Sure.
Where Patrick, I think he threw for less than 200 yards.
They did in about 2 games last year. I think it was them in Denver. I want to say it was the Denver game.
I
can't remember. There's about 2 games.
Buffalo, yeah. Buffalo, I know, because that was a Monday.
Yeah.
So because that was the thing that was crazy, where it's like we get, I don't want to say we as fans or whatever, but we get so caught up in making sure that Patrick's not looking the same when he's broken or whatever. Again, sometimes this is what I argue with Steve about. Sometimes if you just go back to the baseball and just run the football to set up the pass, granted, we know this is a passing team, but sometimes if the defense ain't gonna give it to you, then just run the ball down their throat until they come out of what they're in, and then you can hit them over the top. And that's all I've been saying about the Chiefs all season long, is that if they're gonna run that too high, because I think I mentioned this yesterday. The rest of the NFL, after what Tampa Bay did to Kansas City in the Super Bowl, running that type of defense, the league, other teams have faced that type of defense 42% of the time. The Chiefs have faced it 72% of the time. So if you're faced that many times and you still can't, I guess put up a game plan against that, I mean, basically they're telling you, we're not going to let you beat us deep.
To me, it's on the coaching staff more than anything else.
I agree, but the players as well, because you still have to go out and perform.
Sure, I agree.
What I'm saying is that if they're taking the top away, Patrick did it a couple weeks ago and he talked about it. But if they're giving you everything underneath, take everything underneath, run the football until they show you otherwise, and then once they do, then you can hit them over the top.
I think part of it does come down to, it sounds great on paper, because I would agree that when they're doing this too high, it makes a lot of sense with this new revamped offensive line. give the ball, hand it off, get your 6 yards to carry, and just keep moving the ball and moving down the field. The only issue is that hasn't been the case. I just don't think that Clyde or Darrell, for that matter, or whoever else you want to throw in here on this team is capable of consistently giving you 6 yards of carry against light boxes right here.
I will give you that about Clyde. Now, first of all, between me and you, because I know you probably feel the same, I never would have drafted Clyde because I never would have got rid of Damian Williams.
I never would have drafted a running back in the first round. You know that. I don't care who it was. So, yes, you're correct. I would not have drafted Clyde. I'm not going to lie. I had Clyde as my favorite running back coming out of college. I did. But that was for his pass-catching prowess. Chiefs haven't used him in that way. Clyde has not shown the ability to break tackles or the explosive nature. Typically, you're either one or the other. Typically, you're either a power back or you're this elusive, quick guy. Clyde's not either of those guys. He's been a good pass catcher, and they're not using him in that way. What frustrates me is this team and what they're built on. You see the offensive line, what you have. How fun would it be to have a power back? How fun would it be to have a guy like Ramondre Stevenson? There's so many guys. You have not every running back is going to fit in every single system. We've seen that time and time again. A power back, Kareem Hunt was a pretty powerful back. You saw he would always keep his legs turning. What did he do in this offense? He was fantastic.
Kareem,
but I'm not saying you have to find a guy who's exactly like Kareem because Kareem's a very special player.
Yeah.
Find a guy, though, who James Robinson, undrafted, he can move piles.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. Obviously, we're not going to.
Phillip Lindsay, I think, could. By the way, Phillip Lindsay just got cut from Houston, I want to say a week ago or 2 weeks ago. That would have been a name I thought Kansas City could have taken a look at. Phillip Lindsay, I get it. He's not. He was undrafted. I understand he's struggling in Houston this year, but he was very good in Denver for a couple of years. He was a Pro Bowler.
Look, I'll be honest, man. I mean, obviously, we're not going to do it because we got Clyde, but I would love if somehow, some way, the Chiefs got Kenneth Walker from Michigan State next year because he's a 3-down back, and we've seen what he's been able to do. But look, coming out of that game, New England is 9-4, Buffalo falls to 7-5. Now, look, I would have loved for them to split, but I'm actually glad that it worked out this way. I think New England will still lose another game between now and then, but I do like the fact that you've knocked Buffalo from 5th down to 7th place, or 7th or maybe 8th place as it relates to the standings right now in the NFL. When we look at it and look at the playoff situation, New England is number 1, Tennessee number 2, Baltimore number 3, of course, Chiefs number 4. Currently, and this is everything is kind of setting things up, and that's why we had a discussion last night where I feel like the Chiefs are going to win out. They know what's at hand, but after the Chiefs, you got the Chargers number 5, Bengals number 6, Buffalo number 7. Obviously, Chiefs got to get past the Raiders this week. Chargers got to get to their game, but then that's just the big Thursday night matchup next week in Los Angeles. Chiefs Chargers, that could be for the division title. Obviously, if the Chiefs lose, then the Chargers win, sweep them, and then they have a full game up on Kansas City instead of being tied. So, be as it may, Buffalo losing helps Kansas City out. Kansas City wins out. I expect Baltimore to lose, if not this week, then the following week. I know 2 weeks they play.
Hey, we both had them losing to the Steelers, and they lost to the Steelers. I know you and I thought you had them too.
Yeah. I
mean, Lamar Jackson is struggling right now. I think he figured it out. He's too talented of a quarterback to not eventually find ways to get it done. But you know how we keep ripping, or not we, you and I, but fans are ripping on Mahomes, national media saying, why is he broken? Well, all he's doing is winning football games. He's putting up decent numbers still, but Lamar Jackson was putting up really bad numbers and winning some football games, but it's starting to catch up to him. You just saw the 4-interception game the game before. This previous game, he was horrible. He drove him down the field, had a chance to win it, and then short-armed to throw to Mark Andrews in the end zone.
There were a couple of passes, a couple of those throws with the 4-interception game that wasn't his fault. It was, he had the Tyreek Hill syndrome.
He had about 3 that was his fault. He had 3. The one was not his fault.
Yeah.
The one that Mark Andrews, the receiver, just kind of threw his arm, or the D-back threw his arms up and somehow landed in there. But
looking ahead though, Baltimore this Sunday they face the Browns. Now they beat the Browns a couple of weeks ago at home. This game is going to be on the road in Cleveland. I see a scenario where they split. Now again, I had them losing to the Packers in 2 weeks, so whether they had 5 losses or 6 going in, coming out of that Packers game, I expect the Chiefs to be able to move up. The key for me is going to be what happens with Tennessee. Tennessee, their next game against the Jaguars, I expect them to win, but then they play the Steelers. That's going to be, if the Steelers are still around, the Steelers could possibly knock off Tennessee. I don't expect. I think Julio's coming off the injured reserve, but
Correct.
but
He's
they still
coming
don't
off,
have Derrick Henry.
and
So.
AJ Brown has gone on the injured reserve.
Yeah, and I need to see, because I know we keep talking about this, but I don't think, yeah, Derrick, yeah, he's he could be back in early January. Because I know we kept wondering about Derrick.
I thought the
Derrick
rumor
Henry.
was he's supposed to potentially playoff time. They said maybe a week 17, but that seemed far fetched.
Yeah, so I expect them to beat the Jaguars. Even though I don't really know anybody else that's on that team, they could beat the Jaguars. Jaguars could surprise. Look, they knocked off Buffalo, so anything is possible.
But then Urban Meyer is an absolute megalomaniac, because James Robinson, who's their most talented offensive player, right?
Yeah,
has one fumble. He's got a bruised heel and a foot injury. He's playing through it. Fumbles the ball one time. He gets benched for like the rest of the game for Carlos Hyde, who, by the way, Carlos Hyde comes in, is horrible, and then he proceeds to fumble the ball. I don't understand Urban Meyer and his mindset. That I don't think he makes it past this season, because he has shown no indications of being the guy in Jacksonville to right the ship. But that right there, just to me, was a microcosm of how messed up that entire organization is.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true. That's probably true. Now, but looking at Tennessee's schedule, though, between the Jaguars, Steelers, 49ers, and even the Dolphins, because the Dolphins have won 5 games in a row, I see the Titans losing at least one of those games, if not 2, but at least 1. That would allow the Chiefs to move up to number 2. Again, people say, well, they think I'm blinded by the Chiefs. No, I just think that, the Chiefs, they've turned the corner since they Tennessee. And it's funny. The last, when they go on their run, it's always after the Tennessee Titan game. Yeah. And so I just think it mirrors the same thing that happened in 2019. Now, they played the Titans a little bit later on in November versus October, but things remain the same. Now, granted, things have bounced in their favor, no doubt. We know about COVID. We know about the Raiders and their problems and stuff like that. Broncos, I don't even know what the problem is they had then. Maybe just quarterback issues.
Bad quarterback.
But the Raiders are coming back in. Again, I think you can throw the records out. I think Chiefs Raiders, just that alone stands on its own. And I just think Kansas City, against a team that plays in the dome, that likes to be in the heat, I just think that the Chiefs at home will dispatch other Raiders. I don't want to say easily, they're going to dispatch them. Going to try to get their players out healthy, get prepared to go to Los Angeles, because that's obviously the game. Because if I remember correctly, the Chargers play. Let's see who they play this week. Chargers play. They play the Giants. So okay, so they play the Giants. So that's going to be a win for them. So that's going to set everything up for the Thursday night game. Chiefs will hopefully go on there 9-4. Chargers go on there 8-5. That to me is going to be the division. That's good. I mean, obviously, if the Chargers win, they sweep them. Kansas City's basically going to be a game and a half behind, because even if they tie, they'll have the tiebreaker against Kansas City. So Kansas City needs to win that game. And then, of course, they come back home, play the day after Christmas. They get the Sunday off, obviously, but then they play the day after Christmas against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I just like the way things are lining up. I don't know which Cincinnati Bengals team is going to show up. I mean, that's always a question within itself, because you don't know if it's going to be the team that that lost 41-22 to the Chargers, or the team that knocked off the Raiders and put up 41 against.
They
the
lost to the Jets too.
Exactly.
To me,
and the Bears.
The Bengals are the exact same thing as the Chargers. Any given week, they look like the best team in football. Any given week, they look like the worst team in football. They don't have a baseline. They're very inconsistent. They're like the Spider-Man meme of the pointing Spider-Man. Just to me, they're a dangerous team.
Which is why they're 5-6 in the conference right now.
Yeah, it's just they're a dangerous team. The Bengals, the Chargers, but they don't have that sort of consistency. I would not trust either of those two teams in close games. Like Kansas City, I trust in close games. They've been there so often. They know how to get it done. Bill Belichick, the Patriots, I trust in close games. They know how to get it done. Bills, I don't trust, because obviously they've lost a lot of close games just based on how they've done it. But Bengals, Chargers, two teams, they need to find a consistent baseline. I don't know if that starts because they have young quarterbacks in Herbert and Joe Burrow. I don't know if it's head coaching. They're both two younger head coaches. but they're just so inconsistent.
This is one of the reasons why I feel it's imperative for Kansas City to get home field advantage, to get that number one seed. It's not that I have any concerns about Titans, Ravens, or even Buffalo, because I think the Chiefs, now with the way they're playing, they can beat them. But I am concerned about New England, because New England in the playoffs at home when they got the number one seed,
you might get that Buffalo weather.
Yeah, you might. I mean, Belichick might have something, might have a private line or whatever to a meteorologist, whatever, that can predict that kind of stuff. So I trust the Chiefs at home as they have done the last 2 years, basically the last 3 years. But 2018 was what it was. But if Kansas City can get that number one seed, even the way the Patriots played, I trust the Chiefs better at home than on the road. I just think if they were to play New England, playing that type of ball game on the road, I think it works more so in New England's favor. And I said it because I know we talk about Patrick Mahomes and not being able to not worry about the time of possession, but with the way he's playing this year, the way the team is playing, I don't want to have that type of pressure on Patrick where he feel like he got to hurry up and go out there and do something, because that's where mistakes will end up happening. The ball will bounce off of Travis or Tyreek's hand and intercept, and they run it back. I would rather them be at home versus on the road, especially when it came to New England. But we need to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll be joined by Bob Kendrick himself, talking about Buck O'Neil and his induction to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. You listen to Darren right here on ESPN Kansas City.
Space Camper Cosmic IPA is a juicy hot blast of flavor. Citrusy and balanced, this is an IPA with a mission: to save the Earth, because it's the only planet with beer. You might not know it, but Boulevard Brewing Company has been passionate about taking care of our planet for decades. Between their zero-waste brewery to Ripple Glass, Boulevard has been making great beer you can feel great about. Stock up on Space Camper Cosmic IPA today. Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City, Missouri.
A KC tradition since 1957 and voted the best steak in Kansas City, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. Go to HerefordHouse.com for hours, new menu items, and to make your reservations. Follow Hereford House on Facebook and Instagram for exclusive specials. Hereford House, voted Kansas City's favorite steakhouse.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of voicemail. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Hello, this is Cameron Smith, the head coach of the Washington Wildcats and a proud Kansas Citian. The game of football paved the way to a better education and life for me and for so many others. With the financial help from the DePasquale Moore Law Firm, the future of Washington High School football is looking bright. Thank you to the DePasquale Moore Law Firm for being a company that cares. Whose house? Wash House.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
In these trying times, Kansas City Credit Union knows how important cash flow is in your household. With rates near all-time lows, now's the time to take action. Free up some cash by lowering your monthly car loan payment when you refinance your auto loan with Kansas City Credit Union. And as a bonus, Kansas City Credit Union will delay your payments for 90 days. Visit kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports for more information. Kansas City Credit Union, your path to financial freedom.
Hi, Ollie Gates here. The Gates family would like to say thank you for allowing us to serve you for 75 years, a milestone which would not have been possible without your support. Thanks again, and remember, whatever the case may be, keep the faith.
Kansas City, here we come. Welcome back to Darren and Sterling right here on ESPN Kansas City, 94.5 FM, 1510 AM, 1510.com, and now even on the Roku app. We are joined by a good friend of the show. He is the Negro League Executive Director of the Baseball Museum, Mr. Bob Kendrick. Bob, good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey, Darren, how are you, man? I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well, too.
Oh, we are. Now, Sterling is going to be jealous to know that you were on the golf course down in Florida while he's being brutalized in his weather up here in Kansas City. But
that hurts.
But we wanted to make sure we had you on because obviously the big news of the weekend in Kansas City, besides the Chiefs' victory, but even more important than that, was the fact that Buck O'Neil, who championed black ball players during a monumental 8-decade career, both on and off the field, finally was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame on Sunday. And he, of course, joined Gil Hodges, Minnie Minoso, and a few others. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what it means to you. Obviously, you know, you were close with Mr. O'Neil during his time, and what it means to Kansas City and to the Negro League as a whole that his induction or that his election has finally taken place.
No, it's tremendous. It is tremendous accomplishment for Buck personally, but obviously it means a great deal for this museum. It is bittersweet. I wish it had happened 15 years earlier when Buck was still with us in 2006, when he just narrowly missed getting in the Hall of Fame. But it certainly, Darren, does not diminish the magnitude of the moment, and it doesn't diminish the impact that it will likely have on Buck's museum, the Negro League Baseball Museum. And so I am feeling overjoyed. I'm feeling relieved and tremendously proud.
So as great as this is, because I'm a massive Buck supporter, I thought it was incredible as a kid. He was a pioneer just in Kansas City. He was a pillar. You think of Gates Barbecue, Buck O'Neil, the Chiefs. They're like he was a pillar himself. But I always knew I was 12 years old when it happened and he didn't get in, and we knew it was so close. I was so irritated because I go, he's not going to see it in his lifetime. Everyone knew Buck O'Neil was eventually going to make it into the Hall of Fame. And that was one thing that always stuck with me, and how much it irritated me was when these guys at that age, everyone knows they're eventually going to make it to the Hall of Fame. Why not do it while they're still alive and can still cherish it? Because it would have meant the world to Buck O'Neil while he was alive to see that happen. That always stuck with me. Why is it that sometimes these players, when you knew they were going to make it in, why do they wait? Why do they do this?
Well, you know, it's baffling. We've seen that happen time and time again, because not only did Buck not get in 2006, but the great Minnie Minoso also didn't get in 2006, and he gets in this time, and both were still alive.
Yeah.
Both, you know, Minnie Minoso also played in the Negro Leagues with the New York Cubans, and it would have been so historic to have both of them as living presences at the Hall of Fame to give their induction speech. And so that's why it's bittersweet for me that he gets in this time and that Minnie gets in this time, because we really had an opportunity to truly make it historic in nature with both of those guys still being alive. But, you know, again, I had resigned in the fact that the door had really been closed on Buck, because that election in 2006 was supposed to be the end all for the Negro Leagues. And the door was opened back up after the announcement of the Hall of Fame recognizing the Negro Leagues as a major league, and rolling the statistics into the annals of Major League Baseball history. And so that gave us an opportunity to crack that door open. Fortunately for us, Buck's name reappeared on the ballot, and we were able to get him through this time. You know, fortunately, the committee had the foresight to look at the body of work and determine that this man's 7 decades of impactful contributions to our sport more than warranted his inclusion in the Hall of Fame.
How did that conversation go, Bob? Obviously, you know that this is the weekend they were going to do it. Did they tell you to stay by the phone? Was there a certain time frame that you knew a call may come in?
We knew that the announcement was coming at 5 p.m. or 5 p.m. Central Time or thereabout. And of course, I was set up to do a talkback with MLB Network where the announcement was made. And so, but again, you don't know who's going to get in, if anyone was going to get in. And so I'm sitting there, I'm anxious as all can be. We've got a throng of people there gathered at the museum, very similar to the way it was in 2006. Everybody's on the edge of their seats waiting to hear the announcement. And when Josh Rawitz, who is the president of the National Baseball Hall of Fame, started to read the bio, we knew. We knew at that point in time. And you could see people start to stand out of get up out of their seats. And there was a roar. And then after Josh finished going through the bio and said, John Buck O'Neill, the room just erupted. I was thrilled to be a part of that and to have folks be there, because initially I wasn't going to do a watch party. I was going to wait in solitude to wait until, to get the call. And then I decided that this moment was too special. It was too meaningful. We needed to capture it, good or bad. Even if the decision didn't go our way, we needed to capture it. And fortunately, the decision went our way, and it was just complete jubilation in that room.
This is one of the few times where literally, I wish the Chiefs would have had like an afternoon game and could have had a camera there to where it's like halftime or something, and they're able to kind of put it on the big screen during halftime or something while this is going on, so everybody could capture it. But of course, it was still coming out before the game, and the Chiefs, to their credit, did recognize Buck's selection into the Hall of Fame later on during the game. So yeah, I mean, it was great. I wish it could have been there. Of course, I was stuck at Arrowhead at the time. Looking at that, so the Hall of Fame is going to take place July 24th.
Yes.
What I mean, had they given you kind of, I guess, any insight beforehand on reservation, what you need to do or anything like that, or will that be forthcoming? Because I think that's a trip I need to.
Matter of fact, I'm going to have breakfast with Josh. I believe next week when I get back from Orlando. I snuck away on Monday after the election to come down to Orlando to get away for a golf vacation and kind of exhale myself. And so I'll sit down with Josh and we'll talk about everything that's going to go on there. But what we do know is going to be a big celebration. We are already starting to lay the foundation, the groundwork for a major celebration, because, Darren, it's important that we take advantage, that we get all of the mileage that we possibly can out of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to raise awareness and raise support for Buck's Museum, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. That's what he wanted if he had gotten in the Hall of Fame in 2006. And we still have that opportunity to do that, even though it will be the spirit of Buck O'Neill. And so we'll be planning a major celebration. There'll be a KC to Cooperstown caravan, and then there will be a big celebration in Kansas City later on next year. And so we're excited about that. But we have to make sure we take the full advantage of this opportunity. I want to make sure that we leave no stone unturned. And so, but I think it's going to be a huge year for the Negro Leagues Museum in 2022. And it got off to a great start last Sunday when we heard Buck O'Neill's name. He is now part of one of the immortals, one of the greats of this game, which we already knew. But now he takes his rightful place among the immortals of this game.
I want to ask you this. I want to hear your opinion on Barry Bonds and some of the other names who are on the ballot, their name up for the Hall of Fame. Where do you stand on a guy who is, in some, the home run king, some basically he's hit zero because of the steroids? Where do you land on him?
Well, for me, guys like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, these guys were great baseball players before we ever knew anything about steroids. And that's not to condone anything that they may have done or may not have done. That's certainly not for me to say. But they were great baseball players. Now, again, once you do something you know is illegal, you have to obviously deal with the ramifications. But when we look at just their baseball abilities, I think they both deserve to be in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds is one of the greatest hitters this game has ever seen. And Buck O'Neill had him certainly in his top 5 greatest hitters of all time. And this was well before anyone knew anything about steroids. And so, but again, I understand, and Buck understood, that neither of us we can't be so high and mighty to say what we would or what we wouldn't do when we're not faced with that situation. And I think that's always how he looked at Buck. I remember one time, Darren, we were I can't remember where we were, but a reporter asked him, he said, well, Mr. O'Neal, what do you think about steroids? And Buck looked at him. He said, son, the only reason we didn't use steroids, we didn't have steroids. and again, it wasn't him condoning the use. Because again, once you know something is illegal and you do it, you have to deal and suffer the consequences. But what he was saying is, I'm not that high and mighty. I can't tell you what I would or wouldn't do when I'm not faced with the same situation. And that was Buck. He was never going to say anything disparaging about Barry Bonds. He loved Barry.
The one thing, and this is what I tell you, like, Clemens kind of challenged Congress when he went up there. Barry Bonds has never been indicted. He's never been charged. Now he's always been accused because people just didn't like him. But
his dome grew 3 sizes.
Well, I mean, you could also eat and work out too. That things. I mean, you can get bigger. I mean, I got bigger too, Sterling. That don't mean my head got a little bit bigger too. So I'm saying things can happen. Now, look, I will defend Barry Bonds because from here, look. Even when the government went looking, even at Balco, yes, they found his name in there, but they still never found any quote-unquote evidence. People just assume. So I always say, let's put things in context and be factual about it. Roger Clemens decided he wanted to go up and just, for whatever reason, be at the forefront and testify and do whatever, and then he got busted or whatever. So it's a big difference between those two.
And once, basically, Major League Baseball said, we're going to take a hard stance on this, Barry never got caught. Back early parts of it,
Barry never had nothing in his locker room either.
And Major League Baseball, they kind of turned a blind eye. They were promoting the hell out of Sammy Sosa, McGuire, Barry Bonds. That was all fine and dandy until they decided, hey, we're going to take a hard stance on this. Barry Bonds never got caught. Well, I will say that.
And let me say this, and let me ask you this. Now, there was one other name on there that did get caught. I know he served a nice suspension, but Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
That's
tough. A-Rod's a tough one, too. Stolen bases, home runs. He seemed like a unicorn. But if you put one in, where does the line stop? Hey, Bob, where's your line? If Barry Bonds is in, is A-Rod in? Is Sammy Sosa, McGuire? This is a tough one.
The problem with trying to look at the steroid era is just that. We don't know who did and we don't know who didn't.
Playing judge, jury, and
because there are guys who we just seemingly assume that, no, they never did, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to put an asterisk by anybody's name, you're going to have to look at that whole period of time, in my opinion, and you're just going to have to use that same kind of mindset and basically say it was one of those periods in time in baseball where this happened and these things may have influenced something, but we don't know. Because we cannot be judge and jury because we don't know who did and who didn't. Maybe in some cases we know who did, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who we assume didn't do it, that they weren't doing it, that they may have absolutely been doing it. So, it's one of those periods in baseball history that we're just always going to look at, and I think there's always going to be some skepticism around that period of time. But ultimately, we're just going to have to accept that period. Baseball has been a game that people have been trying to cheat in baseball from the very beginning.
Yeah.
We're doctoring the ball up. Now, who knew that it would be science that would play such a prevalent role? And we look at that level of cheating a little bit different than I look at, I may have tried to doctor the ball up or I maybe tried to steal signs, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. That was a technological opportunity to maybe cheat a little bit, and that was frowned at. But again, you've always been trying to steal the players' signs and do these things to get an edge. You're always looking for an edge.
Bob, I want to thank you so much. See, as soon as I had him, I was gonna hit Bob with this before I go, but go ahead.
I got one last thing. One, we know those Royals teams in that era, they weren't taking steroids because they weren't winning any ball games. Just check the record. And two, I got to give a shout out to my dad for you. My dad's Jeff Holmes, and he said his hip's now all ready to carry your scramble team to victory next year.
Tell him I'm looking forward to it. Tell him I bring that sweet swing on out there. We need it.
Bob, when they send you a list of invited guests, whatever, make sure my name is down on the media because I am going to make sure that now Cooperstown is how far from New York City, or is it like a suburb of it?
It's a long way. It's upstate New York.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
It's upstate New York. It's a whole different world than New York City.
Okay.
But it's absolutely beautiful there. And like I said, I suspect that there are going to be a lot of people from Kansas City that make that exodus to Cooperstown to be a part of that celebration.
Well, I'm gonna get me a media credential, so I'm gonna come in a different way because I'm not paying for no ticket. I need my media credential so I can get up in there. Because first of all, now that I know that Cooperstown is upstate versus like around the boroughs, man, I that means I got to find a different way to get there. I got to find a.
Oh yeah, no, that's 2 flights and a 90-minute drive.
Oh, sweet. Well, make sure you got room in your car because I'm sure going to bring some gas money. Bob, thank you so very much. Obviously, we love having you on the show, and we love being able to talk about the Negro Leagues and Buck and everything related to it. So, you always have a platform here with us to share your stories and stuff. And also, before we get out of it, please promote your podcast if you're still doing it as well.
Yeah, no, we finished for the year, but we'll start back up in April of next year. It's called Black Diamonds. And if you haven't, please go check it out. We did about 21, 22 episodes, stories of the Negro Leagues. You can get them anywhere that you get your podcast. It's been doing tremendously well. Thanks to my friends over at SiriusXM for giving me that platform. And really, Darren, a legion of young baseball fans have fallen in love with the Negro Leagues through this podcast.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, how could you not fall in love with the Negro League Museum and everything that comes with it? Bob, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay, you're welcome, sir.
All right, we'll take a brief time out to listen to Darren and Sterling right here on ESPN Kansas City.
A KC tradition since 1957 and voted the best steak in Kansas City, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. Go to HerefordHouse.com for hours, new menu items, and to make your reservations. Follow Hereford House on Facebook and Instagram for exclusive specials. Hereford House, voted Kansas City's favorite steakhouse.
Boulevard believes in easy indulgence. That's why they decided to put Tank 7 in cans. Their distinctly American twist on a classic Belgian-style farmhouse ale takes its name from the notoriously unpredictable fermenter where the signature beer's perfect combination of ingredients first came to life. You could call it fate. Their brewers call it Tank 7. Grab a 4-pack and treat yourself to a Tank 7 today. You deserve it. Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City, Missouri.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hello, this is Cameron Smith, the head coach of the Washington Wildcats and a proud Kansas Citian. The game of football paved the way to a better education and life for me and for so many others. With the financial help from the DePasquale Moore Law Firm, the future of Washington High School football is looking bright. Thank you to the DePasquale Moore Law Firm for being a company that cares. Whose house? Wash House.
In these trying times, Kansas City Credit Union knows how important cash flow is in your household. With rates near all-time lows, now's the time to take action. Free up some cash by lowering your monthly car loan payment when you refinance your auto loan with Kansas City Credit Union. And as a bonus, Kansas City Credit Union will delay your payments for 90 days. Visit kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports for more information. Kansas City Credit Union, your path to financial freedom.
Welcome back to Darren and Sterling here, ESPN Kansas City, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. This was for Lebo yesterday, but we only had 2 songs. This was free. Great band. Awesome. Bob Kendrick. That was sweet. And we got to hear his Barry Bonds thoughts. I thought he was just going to give us a next question.
Oh no. He's one of those people that don't shy away from that type of stuff. Sterling, we got some games tonight. I need to get a parlay in tonight before I head down to T-Mobile Center tonight for the KU UTEP game. So I
heard you missed one game yesterday,
dude,
and that sunk you.
Well, first of all,
it's always one game though.
It is always
that's
one.
Betting, baby.
It is always one. What's interesting is that Phoenix been blowing teams out, going on that, winning 18 to 19 games or whatever. They were minus 7.5. I even bought points on them, Sterling. 3 points to win by minus 4.5. They won by 4. Hey man, hold on. You know how pissed I was last night because like everything was, I'm sitting thinking like, okay, well, if I just didn't do this, like I had the Clippers win and thinking about the night session. Who was it? The Golden State Warriors were 16-point favorites. They won by like 20-some points.
Yeah. And
it's 7.5 for I'm like, come on, man. Like, and it was a few bucks. It was like $3 that would have got like $400. But I'm like, but it was a 9-leg parlay. Like I had the under for the Patriots and I had the Patriots straight up in that game. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on, man.
That's brutal,
man.
That's
brutal. So now,
quick rundown, go.
Brooklyn Nets. Who you got? -2
against who?
Dallas Mavericks.
Sure, give me them.
Knicks or the Spurs?
Knicks.
Boston Celtics. LA Lakers.
No, neither.
God. I'm gonna go with the Lakers. I think LeBron's fine. I'm gonna go with the Lakers.
Sure.
And we got KU playing tonight at UTEP. I don't know what the
KU. They're good.
Yeah, but I got to see how.
Well, I know, points. But whatever the point is, I would go with KU.
Mizzou -18.5 plus against Eastern Illinois.
Oh no! Give me Eastern Illinois plus 18.
I'm taking 18.5.
Oh yeah, take that 18.5.
I don't know why I'm taking that. And where's KU's? KU's 18-point lead over.
Oh,
UTEP.
That's tough.
I'm gonna give it to KU anyway. Okay, we out to tomorrow.
Darren and Sterling here, ESPN Kansas City. We're out until tomorrow, 3 to 4 p.m. Bye.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family?